In the heart of New York City, where glass towers kiss the morning sky and the scent of ambition lingers in the air, a conference unlike any other was about to begin. It was called the Future Summit, a gathering of the world's most powerful minds, hosted by the man they called the architect of wealth. His name was Alexander Frost. A billionaire by every definition, bold, brash, and brilliantly ruthless. To him, the world was a chessboard, and people were pieces. He moved them, bought them, and sometimes, mocked them. The ballroom of the Grand Empire Hotel shimmered with gold light. Cameras flashed. The air was thick with the scent of money and power. Alexander stood before a sea of guests, investors, tech CEOs, journalists. He raised his glass. Alexander, to innovation, and the courage to stay at the top. The crowd applauded. But in that glittering sea of diamonds and silk, one figure stood out, not for her wealth, but for her simplicity. A woman, dressed in a plain ivory suit, hair pulled back, no jewelry but a silver wristwatch. She sat quietly at the back of the room, observing. Her name, Amara Cole. Few knew her. Fewer had ever seen her. To the world, she was a philanthropist, rumored to run a modest tech firm in D.C. To Alexander, she was invisible. Later that evening, Alexander's laughter filled the hall. He moved from guest to guest like a man inspecting his kingdom. When his eyes met Amara's, his smile turned curious, and then, dismissive. Alexander. The press must be inviting anyone these days. Or you, media. Go. Or just curious about what real innovation looks like. Amara smiled faintly. I'm curious about people who think they own innovation. Alexander. Well, curiosity is free. You should enjoy it while it lasts. He turned to greet another investor, leaving her standing there, calm, unbothered, sipping her water. It was a moment most in the room missed. But for those who noticed, it was just another instance of the powerful overlooking the quiet. What Alexander didn't know was that the woman he mocked didn't just own innovation. She owned the future. As limousines lined the street, Amara stepped into a black SUV. Her assistant handed her a tablet. Assistant. Ma'am, your European subsidiaries reported record profits. The energy grids in Lagos and Berlin are fully operational. Amara. Good. Send a note to the foundation, double the humanitarian fund for next quarter. While Alexander Frost measured success by how loud the world applauded, Amara measured hers by how quietly she could change it. That night, as the billionaire slept surrounded by luxury, a trillion-dollar empire moved in silence, guided by the woman he thought didn't belong. This was only the beginning. Because in the days to come, their worlds would collide again. And this time, he would learn that the quietest people often hold the loudest power. While the world woke to another day of traffic, coffee, and conference calls, one woman began her morning the same way she always did. In silence. Amara Cole. To some, she was a mystery. To most, she was invisible. But to the handful who truly knew her, she was a force of nature. She sat at a glass desk, no golden ornaments, no walls filled with trophies. Just a single window view of a city she helped build. Her assistant, Maya, entered quietly. Maya. Ma'am, the analytics from Nova Grid came in. Global energy supply is now stable in 36 countries. Amara. 36. Good. Send the excess to the regions that lost power last month. Maya. And the board in Zurich is requesting another meeting with you. Amara smiled faintly. Tell them I'm unavailable this week. I prefer to meet results before meetings. Amara Cole had no public title, no social media presence, no brand empire. But through a web of private foundations and silent partnerships, she owned what no single nation could. Energy, data, and the architecture of progress itself. She was born in Atlanta, raised by a mother who worked 3 jobs. Her father, an engineer, taught her one lesson that never left her. Her father. The ones who change the world don't need the world to see them doing it. Years later, that belief became her armor. Amara began her first company at 24, a renewable microgrid startup called Solara Tech. It began in a garage, with 2 computers and a borrowed generator. But while others chased investors, she chased efficiency. Her technology didn't promise luxury, it promised survival. Within 10 years, Solara Tech supplied power to places forgotten by the global elite. And while her competitors made headlines, Amara made history, quietly. She believed wealth was never meant to be a mirror, but a window. A tool to see the world's needs and respond to them. By the time Alexander Frost was buying private islands, Amara Cole had already become a trillionaire. The first in history. But she didn't announce it. She didn't even celebrate it. Because to her, numbers didn't define greatness, impact did. Meanwhile, Alexander's face filled the screens of the world. He was loud, confident, untouchable. His words shaped stock markets. His arrogance shaped his enemies. Alexander. The future belongs to those who dare to lead, not those who hide behind silence. The irony was poetic, because even as he mocked the quiet, his own companies depended on Amara's silent technologies. Her data systems, her power grids, her encrypted satellites. Without knowing it, his empire stood on her foundation. Do you think he'll ever know? Amara. He doesn't need to. Some truths are best discovered, not told. But destiny had other plans. Because the line between arrogance and humility was about to blur. And when it did, the world of Alexander Frost would tremble. In the next chapter, the billionaire who once mocked her would come face to face with the quiet power that runs his world. And the woman he ignored would become the one name he could never forget. If this story moved you, remember, true power doesn't make noise. It creates change. Before we continue, take some seconds to like this video, share it with someone who believes in silent strength, and subscribe to Documentaries Home for more stories that reveal the truth behind human ambition. In business, power often comes disguised as confidence. But real power, the kind that changes destinies, moves in silence. 3 months had passed since the Future Summit, and Alexander Frost's empire was beginning to tremble. Inside the marble halls of Frost Industries, tension filled the air. The numbers didn't lie, energy costs were spiking. And Frost's newest AI project, Titan Mind, was burning through billions. CFO. Sir, our data servers in Singapore have gone offline again. The backup grid's failing. Alexander. Buy whatever company controls that grid. I don't care what it costs. CFO. Sir, the supplier is Solara Tech. Alexander frowned. Never heard of them. Make an offer. A big one. He didn't know that the company he was about to buy belonged to the woman he once mocked. Amara Cole. When the acquisition request reached her desk, Amara looked at the name at the top of the letter and paused. Alexander Frost. Maya, assistant. Should I prepare a rejection letter? Amara smiled slightly. No. Let's meet him. A week later, Alexander prepared for the negotiation like a king awaiting tribute. He expected another nervous CEO ready to sell for the right price. The elevator opened, and there she was. Amara Cole. No entourage, no briefcase, just a calm smile. Alexander smirking. You again. I didn't realize you were in the business world. Amara. I tend to stay away from cameras. Alexander. Well, let's talk numbers. Frost Industries is ready to acquire Solara Tech. I'll offer you $30 billion, generous for a company of your size. The room went still. Amara didn't blink. Amara. $30 billion is generous, for a company that exists to make noise. Mine exists to make progress. Alexander. So what's your price? Amara. It's not for sale. Alexander laughing. Everything's for sale. Amara. Then you don't understand value. For the first time, Alexander Frost had no words. Her voice was calm, but her eyes, steady, unflinching, held the weight of someone who knew something he didn't. He couldn't sleep. He kept replaying her words. Who was she? How could someone refuse him, the man who could buy anything? He ordered a background check. The results came back blank. No public records, no visible fortune, no digital footprint beyond surface-level philanthropy. And yet, her companies held quiet control over the very infrastructures his empire relied on. Every system he touched had her fingerprint, subtle, invisible, but absolute. It was like discovering the ocean only after realizing you were standing on its shore. Maya, he's trying to trace you. Amara, let him try. Truth has a way of revealing itself when the ego digs too deep. Amara Cole wasn't interested in revenge. She didn't need it. Her very existence was the answer to every insult ever thrown her way. She didn't fight arrogance, she outgrew it. Alexander, I want everything we can find on Solara Tech. Ownership, board members, partners. Lawyer, hesitant. Sir, we traced its parent company. It's listed under something called Cole Global Systems. Alexander, never heard of it. Lawyer, you should have, sir. It owns 22% of Frost Industries. In one sentence, his world tilted. The man who mocked her was already standing inside her empire. She didn't need to buy him. She already owned him. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers. And by the time you hear it, it's already too late. Amara softly. Some lessons can't be taught. They have to be earned. If this story inspired you, don't let it end here. Like this video, share it with someone who believes in quiet power. And subscribe to Documentaries Home. For more stories that uncover the truth. Power has many faces. Some wear diamonds and demand attention. Others wear silence, and own the world without ever asking for it. For Alexander Frost, the last 48 hours had been a storm. Every discovery about Amara Cole had shaken the foundation of everything he thought he knew. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't slept. On his desk lay a folder, one that detailed every link between his empire and hers. Every page whispered the same truth. He had mocked the very woman who built the systems that kept his empire alive. Alexander, get me a meeting with her. Today. No media, no press. Just me and her. Assistant. Yes, sir. When Amara entered, she moved with the same calmness she'd carried that night at the summit. But this time, he stood to greet her. Alexander quietly. Thank you for coming. She nodded, taking a seat. Alexander. I didn't know. About Solara Tech. About your other holdings. Amara gently. You didn't ask. There was no anger in her voice, no need for it. Her presence alone was enough to fill the silence. Alexander hesitant. You own 22% of Frost Industries. You could have destroyed me overnight. Amara. Destruction doesn't teach lessons, Mr. Frost. It only feeds pride. Alexander. So what do you want from me? Amara. Nothing. You've already given me everything I needed. Alexander confused. What's that? Amara calmly. Perspective. He sat back, speechless. In that moment, for the first time in his life, Alexander Frost understood what power really was. It wasn't dominance. It wasn't control. It was restraint. Every memory replayed in his mind. The night he laughed. The words he threw without thought. The arrogance that blinded him to greatness. Amara. Mr. Frost, success isn't about who stands highest. It's about who stands with purpose. You built a kingdom of mirrors. I built one of windows. She turned toward the door. Alexander softly. Why didn't you tell me who you were? Amara paused, then looked over her shoulder. Amara. Because you wouldn't have listened. And with that, she left, quietly, gracefully, leaving behind a man who had gained more in 5 minutes of humility than in a lifetime of wealth. Outside, the morning sun broke through the clouds. Alexander stood by the window, looking down at the city that once felt like his. For the first time, he saw it differently. Every light, every street, every system. All powered, directly or indirectly, by the woman he had once mocked. He smiled faintly, not out of defeat, but out of awe, Because sometimes, life doesn't punish arrogance. It simply introduces it to truth. Do you think he'll ever tell anyone? Amara. No. Some revelations are meant to stay private. They're the only ones that truly change us. And in that moment, the story of the woman he mocked became more than a tale of wealth. It became a reflection of what it means to see beyond appearances. Because hidden power isn't about money, but the quiet confidence of those who know their worth, even when the world doesn't. So the next time you judge someone's place in the room, remember, the most powerful person there might be the one who never needs to speak. If this story touched you, don't let its message fade. Hit that like button, share it with someone who believes in quiet strength. And make sure to subscribe to Documentaries Home for more stories that reveal the hidden truths behind human ambition and humility. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay humble, stay curious, and never underestimate the quiet ones.